Hello everybody. In today's session we see about the domestic wiring. So this domestic wiring comes in module 3 after the single phase AC circuits. So the contents of this unit, it is about a brief discussion about the service mains, meter board, distribution board, and the discussion about the concealed wiring, two-way, three-way control of lamps, elementary discussion on circuit protecting devices, fuse, miniature circuit breaker, MCB, okay, electric shock, precautions and against the shock, and different types of earthing and objective of earthing also. If you see this, service mains, it is a small cable that connects the distributor to the consumer meter. It is the connecting link between the distributor and the consumer terminal. Okay. Now the distributor in our case is our BESCOM, okay, in Bangalore, and different locations we have different types of say Mysore it is called MESCOM, okay, CHESCOM, not MESCOM, like this Mangalore MESCOM, something it is like this, okay. Those are all distributors for us. And the pole what you have next to your house, okay, from there we will be tapping the connection to our house. Now this tapping will be through a small cable, okay, if it can be a single phase cable or a three phase cable depending on the type of connection what your house is taking or my house is taking, okay. If you have a single phase supply to your house, I will be just taking a cable with 2 conductors. If it is a 3 phase supply, I will have 3 conductors, okay. So this cable what you have between the pole and the meter board in your house, that will be the service mains, and the board where the meter is kept, okay, I can call it as a meter board, and in the meter board, next to the meter board there will be a distribution board, or we also call it as a panel board, okay, or a breaker board. In this, the electrical circuit what is coming to our house will be distributed to different circuits, okay, and this output of the different circuits will be given to the different locations in the house, okay. So may have a first floor for the house, so one circuit may go to the first floor, okay, or you can also have a separate circuit for the lighting, separate circuit for the heating. All these things will take place in the distribution board, okay, the division, right. So that is why we call it as a distribution board there, okay. Now if you see the concealed wiring, there are different types of wirings we have actually. One is called as, olden days we used to use capping and casing winding, then we used to have conduit wiring, okay, then you used to have a reaper wiring. So like that different wirings are there, okay. So this concealed wiring, it is also one type of conduit wiring, but you cannot see the conduit outside, okay, that will be concealed in the wall, okay. So normally this is used for domestic and commercial installations. So the second point of this concealed wiring is it provides protection to the installation against the fire hazards, electrical shock, mechanical damage, etc. Use of PVC insulated cables carried through PVC pipes called conduit, okay. There will be PVC pipes depending on the number of conductors or the wires it is to carry. This PVC conduits or pipes are available in different sizes, like say half inch, 5/8 inch, 3/4 inch, 1 inch, like that, 1/4 inch, 1.5 inch, 2 inch and 2.5 inches. So these are the sizes of the, okay. Normally the tube diameter, okay, will be represented by this. Now there will be different lengths, okay. So if I want to have an extra length, I can add up 2 conduits to make a larger length, okay, like that. See, size depends on the upon number of wires to be drawn. So I cannot use same a conduit of half inch to draw around 10 conductors like that, it is not possible, okay. So therefore I go for a larger cross section or the larger size. So therefore I say the size depends on the number of wires to be drawn, okay. This is complete conduit system for each circuit is built before putting any cables through it. What do you mean by this? Means if you see any house construction, okay, so before placing the roof, right, that is before placing the roof, the electrician will come there, okay, and he will draw some conduits, okay. There will be a different diagram for each house, okay. I cannot have the same diagram for all the houses. Depending on the number of points what you want, you have that is the plug point, switchboard, lighting points, fan, okay, heating circuits, all this depending upon that I will arrange a conduit system there. Okay. Conduit system will be just only the tubes I will be providing, okay, that's PVC pipes in different directions, and then so after that they put the cement mortar onto that, so they construct the roof. So now what happens, I cannot see these conduits, okay, so because the conduits are concealed inside, therefore I call this also wiring as a concealed wiring, right. And along this pipe, let's say what you call conduits, there will be some inspection boxes and draw boxes are provided at suitable points along the run of the conduits. So, okay. So if the conduit runs around say for 7 to 8 directions, in one particular direction, say at regular intervals there will be inspection boxes, okay, and there will be draw boxes. So we can just, it is for easiness of the wiring, they put these boxes, okay. The conduits are continuous across all junctions and points. Let us say I run conduit for about say 2 meters and I leave some gap, then again 2 meters, okay, that is not possible. I cannot draw wires if it is like that. So the conduit should be continuous, okay. So if I want to join two conduits, then I can have a L coupler. So suppose say if I want to take the conduit over the corner of a room, okay, then what happens, one side I will put a length, then the other side also I put a length of that conduit, then these two are joined by a L coupler, or I can also have a T coupler, okay. It depends on the type of join, what say type of conduits, how you are joining the conduits, okay. Suppose say I want to have a T connection, that is one line, a two wires should pass from one corner to the other corner. Let us say for example, I put a conduit here, okay, this conduit is running for certain length, I have two cables here running like this, okay, like this, and somewhere I want to control a lamp here somewhere at the end, therefore I need to provide one switch at this point, okay. So the control of the lamp is through the switch, so I am placing a switch here, so the connection to the lamp should go through the switch, therefore I need to join here that conduits by providing a T joint, okay. So this should be a T joint. I have two separate conduits joined by a T coupler, okay, three say conduits joined by a T coupler will give you a connection like this. Now what happens, the lamp what I have here and the supply point, supply to the lamp is through the switch, therefore I can use the switch to operate this lamp. So there here I will be using a T coupler, okay. So the T coupler means it is also made up of same PVC or material, but it is a single T, right. So for concealed conduit wiring, ceiling roses, lighting points, power points, switches, socket outlets are accurately fixed, okay. Now this and all will be done later, okay. First I provide the conduit wiring, then after completing the construction of the house or any other thing, okay, commercial building, okay, commercial establishments, then I go for the wiring. After completing the wiring, I will be say putting this switches and all, okay. Before drawing the wires, the conduits are thoroughly swabbed out using a fish wire which is called as a GA wire, okay. So which has been left in the conduit system during its erection. So normally this is only theoretically we do it, but practically this will not be done usually, but they take a fish wire, a GA wire, pass it from one end to the other end, okay, so wherever they want to draw the wire, okay. So suppose say I want to draw a wire through this conduit, first what I do is I will run the fish wire like this, okay, then at the corner I will fix the wires to be drawn through the conduit, and then afterwards I will pull the GI wire again back. So along this with wire the conductors also will move to the conduit, okay. If the building is already constructed, concealed wiring system cannot be made by by chiseling channels in the walls and ceilings, and then sinking the conduits into the surface, okay. Now this one normally what we do is when I construct the house, even during construction also, okay, before plastering the walls, I do normally this part, okay. What you do is, concealed wiring will be there in the conduit and all will be there in the roof, okay. So through the roof, in the different directions, I will be taking the wires, okay. Now these wires has to be brought to the switch boxes which are normally fixed to the walls, okay. So therefore, at the point which is where the conduit is available at the ceiling, there should, from there should be one more conduit which run to the switchboard. So therefore, they just chisel out the wall, okay. When I chisel out the wall, I will be getting a groove inside that. Now after getting the groove in the wall, I will put the conduit. After putting the conduit, okay, then I will plaster this wall. So that what happens, when you see after plastering, this conduit is not visible to you, okay, because it is concealed in the wall, okay. So this is the 12th point what I have said, it is like that. Then after this concealed wiring, we have a two-way, three-way control of the lamp, okay. I want to control a single lamp from two different places, okay. For example, I have a double-storied building. So I need to go from first floor to the second floor or ground floor to the first floor, okay. So in between there will be a lamp. I want to switch on the lamp while I am going up. So therefore I will switch on a switch, okay, when I am about to climb the stairs, and after going to the first floor I want to switch off the lamp, okay. So there I can use this two-way control, right. So again it is not necessary for me to come down, switch off the light, or ask somebody to do that. So here this two-way control of lamp is also called as a staircase wiring, okay. See, when a single lamp is to be controlled from two different places, we use two-way control. So I just gave two examples here. A lamp provided on the staircase of an apartment building is controlled by two switches, one installed at the top floor and the other at the bottom floor, okay. It is not necessary that it also has to be always used in the staircase only. The second example what I have given, it is a single bathroom common to two rooms in a house, okay. Say I can control the lamp what you have in the bathroom either from the first room or from the second room. So this is what you can have. Or else in the same room, I can have a tube light controlled from two different places. One switchboard or one switch for the lamp will be in the switchboard next to the door of the room, okay. Suppose it is a bedroom, then the other switch through which I can control the lamp can be next to your bed, right. Suppose even if you forgot to switch off the light before sleeping, after lying on the bed, you can just switch off the lamp from the bed only, okay. So this way also I can use the two-way control of a lamp. So this is the circuit diagram for a two-way lamp. So in doing this two-way control, I need two switches. These switches are called two-way switches because they can be operated in two different directions. So I can have a contact between A1 B1 or A1 C1, okay. But at a time I can have contact only at one position, either A1 B1 or A1 C1. So I need to have two-way switches, okay. A lamp, of course, a power supply, line and neutral. I am taking a single phase circuit, okay. Normally all the lamps what you have will be in single phase. So therefore the line will be connected to the switch and the neutral through the, okay, between the line and the neutral I will have two switches and the lamp connected in series. Now this will operate in four different operations. It is like this. First operation, if you see the table what I have given called as a switching table for the two-way circuit. Here I have switch number 1, serial number 1, the position of the switch S1. This switch, it is working in A1 C1. There is a direct contact between A1 C1. That means the contact what you have, it is making contact with A1 C1 contactor, okay. So between A1 C1 there is a contact. So the current what is flowing will be coming up from A1 to C1, then C1 to C2, okay. Here now it depends upon the position of the switch. What you have here in switch position 2, it is A2 B2. Okay, A2 B2 means the switch is in the top position here. So there is no contact between C2 and A2, but here we have a contact from A1 C1. Okay, so in case if there is any current flow, of course we cannot have a current flow unless the circuit is complete. Okay, so therefore because there is a open here, the circuit is not complete, therefore no current will flow to the lamp, therefore the condition of lamp will be off state. In the second case, okay, if the position of switch S1 being changed to A1 B1, okay, first phase it is A1 C1, now I change the position of the switch S1 to A1 B1. The second switch still is in position A2 B2 only, okay, there is no change in this position. So therefore what happens, A1 B1, B1 B2, B2 A2 and A2 to the lamp, lamp back to the neutral. So there is a complete contact here, okay, this complete contact is there. So through this, because the circuit is complete here from A1 B1 through B1 to B2, B2 to A2, the lamp will be now in on position because there is a circuit complete here. So the current flow will be there as the circuit is completed. So the lamp will be on position. Now coming to the switch number 3, the position of the switch S1 will be A1 B1, but now the second switch will be changing its position from A2 B2 in the previous case, now it comes to A2 C2. So again what happens, there will be a break in the circuit, therefore no current flow will be there, the lamp will be in the off position. Okay, so A1 C1, this is the position. Now again the second switch, that is the first switch from A1 B1, it is changed to A1 C1. Then second switch is also from A2 C2. Now the current flow between the switches will be from C1 to C2. Therefore, the circuit is completed here, line to A1, A1 to C1, C1 to C2, C2 to A2, okay. Then through the lamp, the current will flow in the circuit, so the lamp will be in the on condition, okay. Like that, in two-way control, there will be 2 off positions and 2 on positions. So total number of positions will be 2 square, okay, so 2 square will be 4, so you can say there will be 4 different conditions of lamp, what I get for different conditions of the circuit. In the 4 different conditions, 2 will be off conditions and 2 will be on conditions. Same way, a single lamp can be controlled from 3 different locations. Let us say I have a big hall and this hall is connected to a different number of rooms. For example, I will take 3 rooms. So the lamp in the hall, any hall, can be controlled from any of the rooms just by using the switches. So that will give you a 3-way control of lamp. Okay, a big veranda or a hall has access to many living rooms. To control a lamp in a veranda from a living rooms, we can use this 3-way control. So in doing this 3-way control, what I need to do is, okay, 3-way control, I need 2 two-way switches, okay, 2 two-way switches, 1 double pole double throw switch. What do you mean by double pole double throw switch? Means I can have this switch either closed in both the directions, okay, either this direction or the other direction. To control, switch to control a lamp in a veranda from 3 different rooms, okay. So this is called as a DPDT, double pole double throw, will be placed in the middle room. By increasing the number of DPDTs, we can control a lamp from any number of rooms, okay. But whatever the number of rooms, as the number of rooms increases, you need to have more DPDTs, okay. That is what the line says. Suppose if I want to control the lamp from 4 different rooms, then I need 2 DPDTs and 2 two-way switches. So the number of switches definitely increases with the number of rooms through which we can control the lamp. So this is a circuit diagram for the 2-way control, okay, sorry, 3-way control. So this is what you have, I told you, DPDT, which is also called as an intermediate switch. Why I call it as intermediate switch means because this is coming between 2 two-way switches, therefore I can also call this as an intermediate switch. So we have a double pole here. What is this double pole? A3, A5 is one pole, A4, A6 is another pole, okay, double pole, double throw. What is this double throw? I can close the switch either in the direct connection, that is A3 to A4, A5 to A6. This can be done by throwing the switch or by closing the switch in one particular direction. And I can also reverse this connection, that is, instead of connecting A3 to A4, I will be connecting A3 to A6 and A5 to A4. This is called as a cross connection. Okay. So this is another direction. If I throw the switch or close the switch in the other direction, I will be getting this cross connection. Okay. So this is double throw, double pole, double throw. One throw will give you direct connection and the second throw will give you cross connection between the lamps. Now I have here 3 switches, okay, 2 intermediate switches, sorry, 2 two-way switches and 1 intermediate switch. So totally there are 3 switches, okay. If you see this two-way switch, this can be closed in from A1 to B1, that is 1, A1 to C1. There are 2 positions for this, and here also I have 2 positions. So these 2 can be operated by 4 different positions. We saw that two-way control, there are 4 different conditions. Adding this, that is dp/dt, the number of, okay, operations will increase. So I have 2 switches, each can be closed in 2 different directions, okay. Here it is A1 B1, A1 C1, A2 B2, A2 C2. This is A3 A4, A5 A6 or A3 A6, A5 A4. I cannot have just a contact only between A3 and A4. If you have a contact between A3 A4, there should be a contact between A5 and A6 also, okay. So that is direct connection. Cross connection will be the other way. A3 A6 connected, A5 A4 connected, okay. I cannot have a single connection here, fine. So now here there are 2 positions here, 2 positions here, 2 positions here, fine. So the total number of conditions what I can get for this 3-way control will be 2 to the power of 3, because each switch can be connected in 2 different positions, that is 2. There are 3 switches, so 3, 2 to the power of 3 will give you 8 conditions. So there are 8 conditions in this table, okay. You clearly observe this. Switch S1, it is connected from A1 to B1, that is this position, okay, this position A1 to B1. Now the dp/dt, that is the center switch, it is connected to A3 A4, A5 A6, that is a direct connection, okay, direct connection. Let us say the current is entered up to A1, then because there is a connection between A1 B1, there will be a flow here. B1 to A3 there is a wire, so this will also carry current. A3 to A4 there is a contact to the switch, therefore there will be a current flow here. Now the current will come from A4 to B2, okay. If the switch S2, it is connected as shown here A2 to B2, okay. So the current is coming up to A2. Now after coming there, that current will enter the lamp and will come back to the supply through the neutral. So that means there is a complete path for the current to flow in the circuit, therefore the lamp will be on condition. That is what I have given here, okay, on condition. Leaving S1, S2, okay, this should be S2 here, I just typed it as S1 only, it should be S2. Leaving S1, S2 in their positions, that is first switch S1 is A1 B1, second one is A2 B2, I am retaining them in their positions and then changing the position of the dp/dt. Now see, I just see the second row, A3 is connected to A6, A5 is connected to A4. The intermediate switch or the dp/dt what you have, okay, the direction of the throw is changed now, okay. So therefore I am getting a cross connection. What do you mean by cross connection here? The current what you have from A1 to B1 will come up to A3, A3 to A6, A6 to C2, okay, but there is no contact between C2 to A2 because the switch S2 is closed in A2 to B2 position. Therefore, as the circuit is not complete, okay, the current flow will not be there in the circuit, therefore the lamp will not glow on, okay. So the condition of the lamp is off, okay. Like this I can observe the 8 different conditions for this 3-way control. As I told you, I can increase the number of switches, that is dp/dt's in between the two-way switches to increase the number of rooms, okay. I can control the lamp from different number of rooms, okay. I can see now it is first room, middle room, second room, that is the third room. So from 3 different rooms I am controlling. If I put one more DPDT in between here, the 2 middle rooms will have DPDTs, first room and the last room will have 2-way switches. So like that I can control the lamp from 4 different rooms. So as the number of lamp switches are increasing, I can have the table size also increases, number of rows increases, so the number of conditions on the lamps also increases. Okay. Just as an example, lamp is an example only. I can also connect any device. Okay. I can control a TV or I can control a fan. Okay. Anything I can do here. I can also control a geyser also. Of course, the powers, the switches what you are supposed to use, in case it should carry the current capacity. Okay, they should be of higher current capacity because usually geysers will carry larger current. So based on that I need to decide the switches here. So other circuit protecting devices, okay, like say the fuse, miniature circuit breaker, this is normally we see in every household, MCB and fuse, okay. There is a small difference, both are protecting devices only, but say fuse is replaceable, okay. It is a small piece of conducting wire having a low melting point. It should always have a low melting point, okay, so that protection to the circuit will be quicker. So a fuse is a piece of conducting wire having low melting point, okay. It is rated for certain current. What is that certain current? It depends upon the current carrying capacity of our equipment, right. So if you see any electronic device, say for example a multimeter, there will be a fuse inside that. If you take a oscilloscope, there will be a fuse inside that. If you take any signal generator, okay, there will be a fuse. These are all protected, the devices are protected using the fuses, okay. Each one will have a different current rating. Like sometimes I use a 1 ampere fuse, sometimes I use a 5 amperes fuse. It depends on the rating of the system, the rating of the. See, even in your households, you have you will have a fuse wire. Okay, what is that fuse? I will be using a tungsten wire or a aluminum or a copper wire. Okay, of suitable cross section, right? So as the current conductor cross section increases, resistance decreases, the current capacity will be more. So if I am using a circuit of which can carry 5 amperes, okay, I can not supposed to put a fuse of current rating higher than that, okay. Rated for certain current, used for protection of entire wiring system, okay. So what happens is, if the current drawn by the circuit is exceeding the limit, okay, let us say I have an energy meter in my house which is rated for 5 amperes. So that means the total current drawn by by the lighting system or whatever system I have, electrical consuming, power consuming equipment in the house, if they all put together carries a current of, let us say, less than 5 amperes, the fuse will be intact, okay. If in the case, if I switch on all the loads, okay, all lamps, all fans, all geysers, all refrigerators in the house at a time, single time, okay, then my current is, let us say, 7 amperes. I put a fuse of 5 amperes. So 7 is much larger than 5. So what happens? The fuse will melt because of the heat developed, the temperature raise increases, so the fuse will melt. So when fuse melts, the connection will be disconnected, okay. So the equipment what I have, it is not possible for it to draw current from the supply. So that is how the equipment is protected from drawing excessive current, okay. So for that purpose, we will provide the fuse in the circuit or the system. When the current in any sub-circuit exceeds the rated current, fuse melts and breaks the circuit, okay. This is the cheapest way of protection because the length of the fuse wire will be maybe around 2 to 3 inches, okay, not more than that. For fuses of current rating 10 amperes, I will be using lead tin alloy, 36% of lead, 64% of tin, okay. For higher current rating, I will be using copper, zinc, lead, tin, aluminum. These wires I can use, or any combination of this, any alloys of this also we can be used for that, okay. Only thing is the fuse should have low melting point, okay, it should not have a very high melting point. And as I told you, when the current rating of the entire circuit is 10 amperes, which means that it cannot carry a current more than 10 amperes, so it is possible for me to put only a fuse of 10 amperes rating. If I put 15 amperes rating and the current drawn by the circuit is 12 amperes, larger than the rated current of 10 amperes, okay, the fuse will not melt, but the equipment will be drawing larger current, therefore there is a possibility of damage to the equipment because of excess current drawn by the system from the supply, okay. So that is what the last line says, never use a fuse rating higher than the circuit is meant for, okay. This is a very important point, okay. So fuses, what is the function of the fuse now? It is just to protect the circuit from drawing excessive current. How it will protect? When the circuit is drawing excessive current, the temperature of the fuse will raise, so it becomes higher than the melting point temperature, therefore the fuse melts. So by melting the fuse, okay, by the way of the fuse melting, the circuit is disconnected from the supply because there is no continuity in the circuit, okay. So that is how the fuse will protect the system. So the next one, what you have, a miniature circuit breaker, okay. The function of the circuit breaker is also same. I will be getting circuit breakers of different ratings for different capacities, okay. An MCB used for low voltage application in domestic or industrial areas where the rated current is not more than 100 milliamperes. If it is more than this, I need to go for a larger circuit breakers, okay, not miniature. There are two arrangements of operation of a miniature circuit breaker, one due to thermal effect of overcurrent and other due to electromagnetic effect of overcurrent, okay. So one will work on the thermal effect, that is whenever the circuit draws a overcurrent, that is current larger than the rated value, there will be a thermal effect, so that makes the circuit breaker to disconnect the circuit from the system from the supply, okay. And again there will be electromagnetic effect, the current what is drawn, okay, will produce a magnetism, okay. So that will cause the circuit breaker to operate when there is an excessive current drawn by the system, okay. Both operations are for protecting the circuit breakers, protecting the system. But here the difference between the fuse and circuit MCB is fuse melts. So whenever the fuse melts, I need to do a replacement, otherwise the continuity of supply will not be there. But MCB is not like that. I can, when it trips, okay, I can, after normalcy, I can just close it back, okay. So the thermal operation, what we have a bimetallic strip here, right. So these bimetallic strips has a property of increasing their length when the temperature increases, okay. So due to that there will be a gap. I can arrange the bimetallic strip in such a way, when there is a increase in the length, there can be an open circuit in the circuit breaker. So because of that open circuit, the circuit continuity will not be there, so therefore the system will, okay, disconnect, the faulty system will be disconnected from the supply, right. That is what the bimetallic strip will work, okay, how the MCBs will work. So this line will tell you about the working of the bimetallic strip, that is thermal MCBs, okay. So this will give you the operation, how it will work and all. It's a very simple one. So the next topic what you have is electric shock and the precautions against shock. What is electric shock? Okay. So the contact with a live wire gives a electric shock. Mild shocks will be there and the severe shocks also will be there. Mild shocks produces nervousness, okay. I just feel I just got a shock, okay, you know what will happen and all, that's what the nervousness, I will be nervous about getting a shock there. Severe shocks may produce convulsions which may be lead to unconsciousness and death also, okay. So when come in contact with a live wire, the current finds a path through the body to the earth. Human body can withstand maximum of 30 milliamperes for a duration of about 25 milliseconds. If it is beyond that, a shock will be more. Okay? If the current is high and persists for a long time, it adversely affects the nervous system. Okay? Fine. So, the nervous system, it is getting affected, therefore, the heart and respiratory system, which also depends upon the nervous system, will get affected. So, this may cause a severe damage to a person who got shock. Okay. So, current in the body during shock depends on the voltage and the body resistance. I have a wet body, my resistance will be up to 1 kilo ohm. Okay. Moist body, it is about 5 kilo ohms. Dry body, it is about 100 kilo ohms. Okay. So, like this, dry bodies, because the body resistance is larger, some voltages still will not produce shock because the current will be minimized. Okay. This is kilo ohms, that O is missing here. So, it is 100 kilo ohms. Okay. So, all voltages will not give us a shock. Okay. Let us say for example, you hold a battery, a DC 1.5 volt battery in your hand between your two fingers, you will not get a shock, right. The severity of the shock depends on magnitude of the current passing through the body, time for which the current passes through the body. Current is minimum, but it is for a long time. Okay. So, then also there will be effect for that. Frequency of the current also will have an important effect on the shock. Okay. Physical and psychological condition of the victim. So, this is also very important, right. So, all these 4 points what I have given depends upon, they affect the severity of the shock. What to do? What are the precautions against a shock? So, make sure that all metallic parts of the electrical equipments are effectively earthed. Okay. What is mean by that? Any current is there, if I connect that equipment, okay, say metallic parts of the equipment to the earth, so the current what is there will flow to the earth, because earth will have, it can take any amount of current. Okay. Replace broken switches, plugs, etc. immediately. Use line tester to check whether a terminal is live or not. Do not just insert any screwdriver inside that to check whether there is a power in the circuit or not. Okay. During maintenance, always switch off the supply. This is one of the important part. I am just changing the bulb in my room. Okay. Then also it is better to switch off the supply and then change the bulb. Use rubber sole shoes while repairing, testing electrical equipments, or avoid direct contact with earth by standing on the dry wooden platform. Okay. There are two things what I can avoid while doing any, say, testing or repairing work on the lines. Okay. So, use rubber gloves while touching any terminal or while removing insulation from a live conductor, right. But when you try to use this 0.4 during maintenance, always switch off the supply, then when I switch off the supply, the live terminals also will not carry any current. Okay. So, this is also very important, but normally nobody will try to do this point number 6, that is they use rubber gloves definitely, but before touching the line terminals, if you remove this supply, even that is another safety situation. Okay. You do not get any shock even that case. In case of electric fire, disconnect the supply and stand on the fire. This should be THROW. Okay. So, this is what you have the precautions about earthing. I need to throw sand on the fire. No water, do not throw any water onto that. Okay. So, earthing is connecting the outer frame of an equipment and its other parts not carrying any current to earth, so as to attain as nearly zero potential as possible. Okay. In case if these parts of the machine, okay, outer frame of the equipment and other parts, they carry any current, by providing earthing, the current will directly flow to the ground. Okay. Even any human being touch that object, that part, he won't get the shock. Okay. So that is the main reason why we have to earth the equipment. So the purpose of earthing is to ensure that all parts of the system other than live parts are maintained at earth potential at all the times. So this is very important. Okay. So earthing provides safety for us. What are the objectives of earthing? First one is to provide safety of operation. When the insulation provided in the machines becomes weak, a part of the operating current gets diverted to the surface. If a person touches such machine, the surface current finds a path through his body to earth. If this leakage current is high, the person gets a shock. By earthing the machine, the shock hazard is avoided as the leakage currents gets an outlet to the earth. Okay. Say suppose I have a iron wire, say electric iron, right. I just connected a 3-pin plug to that iron and I just inserted that plug into the socket, 3-pin socket. Okay. The big hole, that big pin what you have, it is normally connected to ground. So on the iron, electric iron, it is connected to the body of the iron, right. So when I switch on, the iron gets heated up. So I want to just find out how much heat is there on that. Okay. So what I do, I just touch the iron. Then in case if you are getting a shock, it is definitely sure that there is a open circuit in the connection where we are connecting that 3rd pin, okay, that is bigger pin. You can open the switch and you can see definitely there will be an open connection there, right. So in that case, what do you mean by that? I am connecting the body to the ground, but the pin is not connected to the wire properly, therefore that circuit is not completed. Okay. So that the leakage current what is coming to the body of the iron, electric iron, it is now passing through my body, therefore I will be getting a shock there. Okay. So that is very important. So you make sure that all the equipments are grounded properly. Okay. Sorry, earthed properly, not grounded, earth. Say if you have a laptop, you have connected the laptop to a plug point, okay. Then if there is no earthing in your house, even that case, if you just try to touch the corner of the laptop, okay, any metal body corner, you will get a mild shock there. So that means the earthing is not there, therefore you will be getting a shock there. Okay. Earthing can save conducting material. See in the case of earth, it provides a return path for the current. Okay. In case of automobiles and electronic equipment, okay, avoiding complications in laying the return wire. So if I do it, this part normally we will be using in automobiles and electronic equipments, right. There will be just ground, no return wire. Earthing helps in protecting high-rise buildings from the atmospheric lighting. Okay. Now you might have seen in high-rise buildings at the top there will be one what you called a forked metal rod, okay, will be projected out. That is rod is normally called as a lightning arrestor. Any lightning, natural lightning, okay, striking that conductor will be provided a path to the ground through a low resistance path actually. Okay. So that is what the current directly passes to the earth and protect the building. Okay. So that is lightning arrestor we call that. Different methods of earthing are there, particularly we use 2 types. Okay. Methods of earthing. Earthing should be done in a way so that on short circuit the earth loop impedance is low enough to carry 3 times the current if fuses are used and 1.5 times the current if MCBs are used. Okay. Earthing requires a metallic plate or a pipe, what is called as an earth electrode, to be embedded in the earth. Galvanized iron is used as earth electrode. Okay. Effective earthing requires the low resistance offered by the earth electrode along with the soil. So to increase the conductivity of the soil around the earth electrode, we provide alternate layers of common salt and charcoal, okay, So, we have a plate earthing. Suppose if I am using a galvanized iron plate as an earth electrode, then I will be calling it as plate earthing. Okay. This is what you have a physical dimensions of the earth, plate earthing. Plate earth electrodes when made of galvanized iron or steel should not be less than 6.3 mm in thickness. Copper also can be used here. Okay, instead of galvanized iron plates, I can also use copper plates. When I am using copper plates, the thickness of the copper plate will be 3.5 mm in thickness. They should be at least of size 60 centimeters by 60 centimeters. So, a copper plate of this size with this much thickness will be much costlier compared to a galvanized iron of the same size but larger thickness. Okay, 6.3, almost it is double, no? 3.15 and 6.3, this is double. So, the weight of this also increases, but it is much cheaper compared to the copper plate. Therefore, normally we will be using galvanized iron sheet, okay, iron steel, galvanized iron or steel for the plate earthing. So, because I am using the plates, I call this earthing type of earthing as a plate earthing. Okay. Now, the conductor or the galvanized the electrode what you have, earth electrode, should be buried such that the top edge of is at a depth of not less than 1.5 meters from the surface of the ground. If you see this previous diagram, this is the top edge of this. Okay. So, they should be from the ground, I should have that much distance what I mentioned. Okay. 1.5 meters. The earth electrode is placed with its face vertical at a depth of 3 to 4 meters in a pit. Okay. The space around the electrode is filled with alternate layers each of 150 mm height of charcoal and common salt. Now, if you go to this diagram, we have here, this is different layers of charcoal and common salt. Okay. A GI pipe of 12.7 mm diameter is connected to the earth electrode. You can see here, this is what you have, a GI pipe. It is connected to the earth electrode. Okay. .7 diameter. This GI pipe carries the earth wire which is fixed to the earth electrode with nuts and bolts. So, that also you can see here, I will be connecting here. Okay. So, that the wire will be connected to this plate here and it passes through this earth wire, through this. A GI pipe connects the charcoal and salt filled pit to the concrete housing, in which a funnel with a wire mesh is provided, that you can see in this diagram what you have here. This is the concrete pit. Okay. This is a GI pipe, I have a funnel at the top. Okay. And there will be a filter here at the top of this. Now, what is the purpose of that is, the concrete housing has a cast iron lid, of course that is the cover for that. About 3 to 4 buckets of water should be poured into the tunnel every few days to improve the soil conductivity. Okay. It is better to keep it wet, so therefore conductivity will be more. This becomes more essential especially during summer, when the soil conductivity tends to decrease due to decrease in the soil moisture. Okay. So, like this I have a pipe earthing. The method of earthing is almost same, only thing is I will not be using a metal plate here, I will be using a metal pipe, GI pipe or a copper pipe. Okay. 12.5 mm in diameter or at least 16 mm diameter. Okay. So, I will be using a pipe, therefore I call it as pipe earthing. The method of earthing is everything is same. So, you can just go through this. Pipe electrode should not be smaller than 30 mm in internal diameter if it is made up of galvanized iron or steel, and 100 mm internal diameter if it is made up of cast iron. Okay. Pipes or rods as far as possible should be one piece and not less than 2.5 meter in length, and should not supposed to have any joints in that pipe. These should be driven to a depth of at least 2.5 meters. Okay. To increase the soil conductivity, I will be using artificial soil treatment, that is putting charcoal and salt, okay, filling the pit with charcoal and salt, alternate layers of that. The pipe at the bottom is surrounded by broken pieces of coke and charcoal for a distance of 15 centimeters around the pipe, okay. So this is what we call it as artificial soil treatment. And again I will be doing a cement concrete work at the top. So and I will fix a say funnel there through a filter, and I will be pouring water, okay, to increase the moisture of the ground, okay. So the method is same almost. Then I have a residual current circuit breaker, it is called as RCCB, current based leakage circuit breaker, okay, earth leakage circuit breaker it is, referred as RCD or RCCB. Here one CT core is energized, current transformer core, okay, is energized. I have a CT here, it is energized from both phase wire and neutral wire, both these wires, phase and neutral wire. The polarity of this, the phase winding and neutral winding on the core is so chosen that in normal condition MMF of one winding opposes that of the other. In case of any fault there, the current will be flowing in such a way that, see, okay, as it assumed that in normal operating condition the current goes through a phase wire, will be returned via neutral wire, there is no leakage in between, okay. As both currents are same, the resultant MMF produced will be same. So therefore net EMF will be 0, because each wire is producing the same amount of EMF and acting in different direction. The relay coil is connected with another third winding wound on CT core as secondary, okay. In normal operating condition there won't be any current in the third winding, as there is no flux in the core due to equal phase and neutral current. Whenever there is a leakage occurs, this balance will get lost, therefore the relay will trip, causing the circuit to trip, okay. So this is what normally the operation of a RCCB, residual current circuit breaker. We can have a 3-phase residual circuit breaker or a single phase circuit residual circuit breaker. The operation is same for both cases, okay. Thank you. So today's session we saw about the domestic wiring, like say we started with supply mains, okay, then we saw that meter board or distribution board, then we saw the 2-way control of lamps, 3-way control of lamp, and before that we have also studied about concealed wiring, okay. Then we have studied about the fuses which are protecting devices in the system, miniature circuit breakers, then type of earthing, what is the requirement for earthing, and what is shock, how to prevent shock, okay. So this is the end of my session for today, okay, and I wish you good luck for the exams, okay. Thank you.